Okay, I believe we're going live. So, all right, yeah, without further ado, I think we'll just get started. I mean, summer months tend to be a little challenging with people being away, but this is being live streamed and recorded, so hopefully people will watch the recording if they can't join us live. So hopefully you can see the slides that I'm sharing. If you have any issues, just let me know. And any questions you have, feel free to, unmute yourself and voice your questions or comments, or feel free to type it in the chat, or if you're following along on the live stream, feel free to add your questions there as well. Yeah, like we typically do, just wanted to remind people about our community code of conduct. We want to have a welcoming environment like every community. You can find full details in our GitHub repo, but let me know if you have any questions during or even after the call. So the agenda we have today, it's pretty standard by now. We'll start off with a few community news. And we have our first user story from the Asia Pacific region. We have a lot of users and community members in APAC, so very excited about this one. And it's actually hot off the press because it just went live several hours ago. And like we traditionally do, we have some product updates and feature demos, which is one of the more popular topics, I think, from our monthly call. So, and then, I said Q&A at the end, but feel free to interrupt me or any one of us if you have any questions or comments, and happy to answer them. So in terms of community news, we have 3 items. We talked about the pre-aggregations workshop. You may have seen the announcements on our Slack channel and other social channels too. Again, if you haven't registered yet, it's a week from today for a couple of hours, 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you haven't registered yet, you can go to this events page and register. And you could do us a huge favor while you're registering. We do have a few optional questions that we want to learn from the participants. So those are pretty short questions about things like which database you use and what topics you want to see, and they've been very helpful. When I checked a few hours ago, I think we now have over 90 people registered for the event, and most of you have been very generous with answering these questions, and they've been very helpful in terms of preparations, not just for this event, but in general. And as for the speakers, you'll hear from Ryan, who leads our product efforts in a few minutes, but Ryan, along with Pavel, who is our sort of father of Cube.js pre-aggregations, I guess. He's a co-founder and CTO. So excited about two of our colleagues leading the discussion next week. And just so one of the things that we're working on, we didn't want to make this just a Google slide fest. that would be pretty uninteresting. But we'll definitely have live demos that Ryan will be going through, and you'll also be able to follow along, so you can get hands-on experience. We'll send out additional instructions for people that are registered, so you can set up your environment to do hands-on exercise during the workshop. And we definitely want to make it more productive versus just going through lots of slides, and make it interactive. And I already got questions from a few people, especially people in the APAC region. Unfortunately, the timing isn't great for people in APAC. I got pinged by someone in Australia. It's probably 2 in the morning their time, and the webinar will be recorded. So if you're not able to attend live, you'll have a chance to view the recording afterwards. It'll be in our YouTube channel. So you have that option as well. And then I also tweeted this and posted on Slack last week. Everybody who attends the Zoom webinar call next week will receive a fun pair of Cube.js socks to add to your wardrobe. So hopefully we'll see a lot of you there. we're looking forward to it. And the next item, our team's here, so I'll turn things over to him. We sort of missed this by a few days with our last monthly call. We had our call, and then a few days later, we made an announcement. One of them was a blog post from RTM, but big news obviously is our Series A announcement. And RTM, I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you, Ray. Yeah, I just wanted to use this moment on today's calls to thank you all the community to help us and like being really instrumental in the growth of the Cube and the way you shaped it. And I know that a lot of features that being a really part of the Cube right now being contributed by community. Some of these contributions were by actual code and sending a pull request. Some of these contributions were by sharing your use cases, and our team, and as you all know, specifically Pavel and many use cases work very closely with you to understand how we can improve Cube. So definitely the Cube is a different product than 2 years ago when we initially open sourced it, and community helped us to shape it a lot, and we'll just continue with that motion. That's why it's an open source in the first place, and we really want it to be a sort of a product of a collaboration. So again, just wanted to use this moment to say thank you to the community. But with our Series A, what it means to Cube and what it means to the community, it means that we have more resources right now that we can invest and deploy across multiple areas. And one of the first area is obviously going to be development of the Cube. That's why we are very actively hiring on engineering positions. So if you would like to join us and work full-time on Cube, that's a very perfect moment to do it. So please let us know. Feel free to ping me or Pavel in Slack, or just go to our website /careers and submit one of the applications for one of the positions. And a few things that we are planning to do in a Cube development are, and I mentioned them in a blog post, we have a lot of exciting things, but I just want to highlight the real-time integrations that will come soon to Cube. And I know based on my conversation with a lot of members in the community, I know that's something that a lot of users, existing Cube users, they wanted. The way to connect directly to things like a Kafka streams, or to be able to update aggregations in real time from databases like Postgres based on things like a change data capture. That would be one area that we will focus a lot in the upcoming months. And we also will invest a lot of the learning resources, because we started to invest a lot in documentation from their first early day, but right now, I believe there's still a lot of things to do to put out learning resources, workshops like we're doing with pre-aggregations, tutorials and examples. So that's one of the areas where we're heavy invest. And again, if you would like to be involved here, like either work with us full-time or just to contribute some learning experience from, like based on your experience, you're very, very welcome. Please feel free to ping Gray or myself in Slack, and we'd love to chat. That's one of the big area we believe that we can improve Cube and a general kind of learning experience to help more users to be able to start with Cube, and also, existing users to learn all the advanced features. So I will not take any more time from this community calls. I know we have a lot of things to do, but just again, want to say thank you. And it's a big milestone for us, and we are very excited to continue to build more and a better product. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, RTM. Yeah, I mean, definitely want to echo appreciation for the community. I know that was a big factor for investors as well. So, I mean, definitely excited to see the growth of both of the community and the company, which definitely goes hand in hand. So the next topic, we have Jordan here. I mean, Jordan, you talked about the design partnership last week, and I know you wanted to provide some update and encourage more people to get in touch with you. So I'll turn things over to you, Jordan. So.
Yeah, I'm assuming you can hear me, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Thanks, Ray, for giving me a little slot here. If you weren't on the last call, just a quick introduction. My name is Jordan Phillips. I'm heading up the strategic side of helping develop our Cube Cloud offering that we'll be providing in the coming months to the rest of the community. And I thought it was important to talk about this because it sort of echoes what Artyom was saying, where we're really dedicated to making the best product available based on the feedback from the community. And that even includes our upcoming commercial offerings. So there's a lot of background here that I can share for those who want to ping me directly. And I offered this last community call and I actually had a handful of people reach out to me directly via Slack or even email as well with interest to be a part of this design partnership. But before we bring this to market, sort of like what we did with the open source, we want to garner as much feedback from the community and those who are interested in understanding what is the difference between our open source and our cloud offering, and what is the value that my organization might have to bring something like Cube Cloud into production. And so just to quickly highlight, we're seeking a select few companies and those that are actually using the product today, especially those that have familiarity with Cube.js would be great just because of your background and your education behind the product. But there's a direct impact for you in a very short amount of time, like I'm mentioning here, in 2 to 3 weeks, to impact the product roadmap and help us develop the features that you believe would be a great help, not just to you and what you would hope to see in a cloud offering, but also to other members of the community based on what you've seen in the past. So in exchange for that, we're obviously going to be giving you early access to the product before anybody else, as well as some preferential pricing once you do become a Cube Cloud customer. So like I said in the bottom, just want to emphasize that we're already working with a handful of people and it's going really smoothly. We're getting great feedback, and the breadth of use cases for something like Cube Cloud is still, every single day we're hearing someone new and a new opportunity to actually leverage this product. So really all we're asking is one main point of contact, about 2 to 3 weeks, and we would be setting you up with a Slack channel and guiding you through the setup process and some of the differences between our cloud and our open source. So yeah, really, really exciting to be able to continue to do this partnership based on the success thus far. And the more people that sign up, the better the product will be. So we're encouraging those to reach out to us, and you can reach out to me specifically, or Ray if you're more familiar with Ray. He can obviously loop me in as well. But yeah, thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. Yeah, and obviously, I mean, Jordan's also on Slack. I mean, people have already reached out to Jordan via Slack after our monthly call. So Slack, DM, or I believe, Jordan, your email is jordan at cube.dev, right?
Yep.
So, either
simple
way, whichever way you're comfortable with, or, I mean, feel free to ping me as well. Jordan and I are in the same time zone, so we don't have any time zone issues, and I'll be happy to pull Jordan in to help out. So thanks for that. And all right, so next topic, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have our first user story from Asia Pacific region. I mean, you may have noticed, if you look at a lot of our Slack conversations, if you look at the time zones, I've noticed a lot of people like in India, Australia, and especially Southeast Asia. So very excited that this came to fruition pretty quickly. And one of the other things I wanted to mention, because of the time zone issue, Hongjan Lim, I mean, who's you may have seen him on Slack. And it's been my main point of contact from FeedMe for the user story. He's not able to join. It was well past midnight in Malaysia, so I didn't want to ask him to join. So they're not going to be able to be online to answer the questions over the call, but we can continue the conversations. I started a thread already, or a topic already on Discord. So, and Hongjan is happy to answer any questions. So I'll sort of go through the highlights of the user story. And I mean, if you have any questions, I mean, feel free to ask me. If I'm not able to answer it, I'll forward them on to Hongjan and get those answered on Discourse and other channels. So yeah, so this is like a hot off the press. I mean, literally this went live like several hours ago. I mean, FeedMe They're based in Malaysia, but they work with food and beverage customers, industry customers all across Southeast Asia, and they provide the point of sale solutions that you typically see in food and beverage retail. I mean, things like, like a cash registers, like the monitors and payment devices. Along with those hardware, what they also provide is like reporting for their customers. And one of the things they wanted to do was make it easier for their retail customers to customize their reporting. And with their previous solutions, they were definitely running into like a couple of issues. I mean, maintainability and scalability was a big one. And they were also, I mean, the way they found Cube.js, it was mostly through Google search, was that they wanted to find a solution that can help develop a standard data schema across the company. And they, found Cube.js through Google, and they found it, very helpful for their use case, and spent a little over a month sort of implementing in a couple of phases, which is covered in the next slide. So the way they broke their implementation, in the first phase, they just focused on migrating a big part of their data schema. I think they spent like a couple of weeks doing that. And in the second phase, then they focused on implementing more advanced features like pre-aggregations and Cube Store. And I think the second phase, they spent like 3 to 4 weeks on the second phase. So the whole implementation of Cube.js in their environment took a little over a month. Which was pretty impressive. When I was having interactions with Hung Jan over Slack, I thought the way they went about it and the way he asked a lot of the questions was like, he's pretty structured. I mean, I could tell that, he went through documentation and took advantage of our onboarding resources, and then work with the community to get the questions answered. So, I mean, I thought they went about it in a pretty structured fashion. And one of the questions I asked after they were done with pre-aggregations in Cube Store was that, I said, well, what were the major benefits? And what I expected was performance. Obviously, performance gain was something that was obvious. But the other thing I didn't really think about was that what they told me was that the BigQuery cost with Cube.js, it's down to about a third of what it was before, which is pretty significant. And I have an architectural diagram here. Sorry, it's not showing up very well on Google Slides, so I'll just go to the user story itself, which you'll find on our blog section of our website. And so this is their sort of architectural diagram at a very high level. And on the front end, they're obviously using Vue and Chart.js as a charting library. And basically all the Cube.js infrastructure is on AWS EKS basically. And they have like a couple of database or data lake here, which I want to quickly cover. So they use CouchDB for the point of sales data. And one of the things that Hong Jan mentioned was that this their POS devices are not always online. I'm not 100% sure what the issues are, but I'm sure it has to do with some internet connectivity. So the device could be online or offline. So the data from CouchDB to Google BigQuery gets synced when things are back online. When the devices are back online, but they basically use Google BigQuery as a data lake for their transactional data, and the rest of the data from FeedMe and also their partners. I mean, they have partners like a delivery partners who deliver food from restaurants. They're in like a MongoDB Atlas, so those are the data sources they have. So this is a high-level architectural diagram and that's in the user story that I wanted to point out. So I want to see if I let me just, while I'm on this screen, let me show a couple of like a sample screenshots that they share. This is not used by their customers, but at FeedMe specifically, there's this like a sample data point from like a sales dashboard. Shows like a number of transactions and discounts, etc. And the second screenshot shows what they call a daily close-up summary. I assume this is like a daily, like a transactional or other summary report. So the Cube.js has been in production since May. So it's been live for a couple of months. So knock on wood, hopefully things will continue to go well. And their goal is to continue to provide more flexible reporting system that their customers can use at retail locations. So this I'll won't go through the use cases, user story in detail, but feel free to take a look. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me now, or I'll point you to the topic in discourse where you can ping Hongjan for questions as well. This is the second bullet here. I started a topic on discourse. So if you have any questions that or like the things I didn't cover on the call today, feel free to ask Hongjan directly. And he'll be happy to jump on the thread and answer your questions. And a couple of things that I wanted to also point out on the user story. Obviously big thanks to Hongjan and the rest of their team for contributing and sharing their use cases. This collaboration was done entirely online. I typically, when we do user stories, we've done it a couple of different ways. We set up a call and we spend about 45 minutes to an hour going through some of our questions and then, take notes based on the conversation. But because of the time zone and other issues, like, jumping on the call wasn't that easy with the FeedMe team. So all of the collaboration was done online, either on Slack or just started a Google Doc once we decided that we wanted to work on this user story. So this was done entirely online, asynchronously. I will post add a paragraph or post a question on Google Doc, and I'll see the answer when I get up in the morning. So it worked out really well. So I think from start to finish, it probably took like about 2 weeks, which I thought was great. If you're watching this live or listening to the recording, if you want to share your or user stories or your experience, feel free to reach out to me. We definitely want to do more of this because, like Artyom said earlier, a lot of our users and community members find all the different use cases very interesting and useful. That definitely helps scale the knowledge and know-how across community members. And definitely we'd love to see more use cases user stories going forward. And want to encourage everyone to reach out to me if you want to work on your user story and get this published. So I'll pause there, and I'm gonna go through the chats to see if there aren't any questions. Looks like we're all good. Hopefully I did justice to the user story. Obviously it's because of time zone issues, Hongjan couldn't be on the phone on the call, but we should be able to continue the conversation on discourse and other channels. Cool. So I'll switch gears here, and Ryan's here, and I don't know if Hassan's going to join us, but Ryan, I'll turn things over to you for product updates and any demos that you want to showcase.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Ray.
Do you want to control the slides, or do you want me to just keep?
Yeah, can I just share my screen because I'll be doing a demo as well?
Yeah. All right. Cool. So let me stop sharing.
Thanks.
Yep, thanks.
Share this one. You all can see the slides again.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. So today's going to be fairly quick. First, I'm going to do a live demo of live preview, which, as Jordan mentioned earlier in the call, we're ramping up here at CubeDev on Cube Cloud and making that generally available, hopefully soon. For those of you who are using open source Cube.js right now and are wondering how you can try it out, even with your local deployment of Cube.js currently, you'll definitely want to pay attention to this demo. So if you're running the latest version of Cube, you'll notice that we now have this button in the upper right called Run on Cloud. So if I press that, I'll see that I can, I'll get asked about my Cube Cloud account. If you don't have an account yet, you can sign up on this sign up page, and then we'll provision an account for you. This is because we're still in private beta. I do have an account, so I will just sign in now. And then once I'm signed in, I'll pick a deployment to run this live preview environment on. And so what essentially is happening here, and you can see in the logs, well, actually, I probably missed it, sorry. But what we're doing is uploading your schema up to Cube Cloud and using a deployment on Cube Cloud of the Cube API and Cube Store to basically run the queries that you'll be executing on Playground or from your application directly there. So you can see here, I can now run this particular query, and it'll show up here on the upper right that I'm actually running on Cube Cloud. And I can copy this URL, which, as you can see, it's now running on AWS account. I can also take a look at these queries. So this is what the UI of Cube Cloud looks like. And you can see, there was my query at 9:28 a.m. From Playground. Yeah, so, and also, I guess you can take a look at the developer console just to prove that we are running these requests through Cube Cloud. So let me just run again, maybe a different query. Yeah, so you see there's the request, and it's going to that API endpoint on AWS. So this is really helpful for those of you who love Cube.js, but wonder if you'll forever have to be running Cube API and Cube Store yourself. And you've heard of Cube Cloud from us, and you would like to give it a try. This is a great way to do that without too much heavy lift. You can reuse your schema as is. So yeah, it's a pretty nifty feature. The next thing I want to talk about is the rollup designer. So those of you who saw last month's call may recall that we added this rollup designer very recently. So this is intended for adding your own pre-aggregations into your schema and being able to do that as easily as possible based on the queries that you're running in Playground. So we've been iterating on the design of this. So I just want to give you all a sneak peek of kind of the look and feel of the latest design that we're going to put out soon. This isn't out there yet. And by the way, you may start to hear us sometimes use the words rollup and pre-aggregation somewhat interchangeably. But to be clear, in the world of Cube, a rollup is technically a type of pre-aggregation, but pre-aggregations by default are of the type rollup. And we see rollups really as kind of the most powerful type of pre-aggregation, since they help you condense your query data set significantly. So that's why this is called Rollup Designer, and why you will see the word rollup or the term rollup used more often now. And so that's why it's called that instead of a pre-aggregation designer. Plus, we feel the term rollup is a little more familiar to folks other than besides pre-aggregation, especially if you're new to Cube.js. So some things that we changed here slightly, and let me just expand this so you can see it better. We've moved, well, we will be moving the query compatibility section over to the right slightly, so to make room for the rollup definition to appear kind of front and center there, because that's essentially what you want to copy and paste or add to your data schema, is that definition of the rollup. And then we also added this new section in there for the more advanced settings and configuration of the pre-aggregation. So this is for things like the refresh key and partitions. These are also important to configure as part of a pre-aggregation. So I just want to give a major shout out as well to Alex Vasiliev for his work on both of these projects, the live preview that I just demoed, as well as this rollup designer. He spent a lot of time working on improving both of these features, so I'm thankful for him for that. And then lastly, but not least, on the documentation side, I'll speak to this since Hassan's not here today. We've reorganized the database connection section. Some of you may have noticed this. This all used to be on this single page shown on the left, with all types of databases we supported on that single page. And we heard a lot of feedback about this and decided that because many of you really only care about a single database type, maybe two each, then you'd probably prefer to read a dedicated page for each of these for your database that tells you about all the different configurations and things that you ought to know about that particular database. So major thanks to Hassan for this work. He's, of course, our favorite steward of all the documentation you see on CubeDev. And we hope that this will be, more useful as a reference point for all of you. And yeah, that's it from me. So as always, if there are any questions about the product updates or any requests for things you'd like to see in the future, hit us up in Slack.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I mean, I want to echo a big thanks and kudos to Hassan. I mean, not just the one you showed, but I was on vacation like a couple of weeks ago, but when I came back, I saw a lot of PRs that, I mean, it's open to everybody. Everybody can see it. We're making a lot of improvements in documentation, especially for people that are getting started in Cube.js. So I'm definitely looking forward to all the improvements and streamlining of our docs. So yeah, so just want to pause here. It doesn't look like there are any questions, but I want to give a couple of minutes for all the participants. If you have any questions that you want to voice or type. If not, we can just. JC, did you have a comment? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that live preview, which was like magic. I'm like trying to fathom how that worked. I'm like, this is running on my computer, now it's running in the cloud. How? And I'm assuming one of the limitations, because like usually my local cube is connecting to my like a local Postgres or something as a data store. And so I was like, is it like ngrokking back to my computer to get my data? But then I was like, oh, it's probably you probably need to be set up with like cloud-based data stores for that to work so that it can make the same type of connection. Is that probably how it's?
Yeah, so your deployment, I guess as a sleight of hand a bit there, where I had configured that deployment in Cube Cloud with that same database connection. So
Okay.
it's not going I guess, through your local machine. I would double check this with an engineer, but I'm pretty sure this is
Okay. That'd be pretty next
about.
level if it was, but I'm like, oh, it's probably making its own independent connection to wherever
Correct.
it is. And okay, wow, that was pretty impressive though. That's I might have to play with that.
Yeah, definitely. And let us know if you have any thoughts on the user experience as well. We're still making a few more improvements to it, but it's coming along nicely.
Nice. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, JC. Any other questions or comments, parting thoughts? All right. Sounds like that's a wrap. I mean, thanks everyone for joining, or anyone watching the recording. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't registered yet, I mean, please register for the pre-aggregation workshop a week from today, and then hope to see many of you there. And then at the next monthly call in September.